to the next spot on our board. Cleveland Browns 3-2, 0-1 on the road at the Indianapolis Colts 3-3, 1-2 at home. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. You can imagine that our guy Troy, who's been all in on the Browns throughout the season, believes in them here. And he did send me this message from the hospital: Browns -2 and Colts team total under. His note alongside it said Minshew is the worst PFF rating in the league under pressure. 50% worse than the second on the list. Complete outlier. Colts will not take any risks. The game will likely turn into a battle for field position. My only issue there is, again, do you want to buy the Browns high? And it's a real issue. It's just a real issue that will likely, I try not, unless I really have conviction, to move on spots like this. But maybe we'll find that conviction with this breakdown. So let's get into it right now. We'll start with the spread. We talk about, look ahead spots. We talked about the 46.5. That was a look ahead with the total in the last game. We can talk about the look ahead spots in some of these games here. I tried just to focus on Pinnacle, but here, it was 3. We're dealing with a 2 right now. -2 opened up at -106. It's now -2 at -103. So we've had 3 cents of movement towards the Colts, who looked awful last week. From a total scenario, this is sitting at 39. And, it's moved 5 cents towards the under. And unders do scare me. They scare me very much with Minshew at quarterback. Let's take a look at the cash, just because of pick sixes as well. Right. He's a feast or famine kind of a quarterback. 82% of the tickets, 89% of the cash on the Cleveland Browns on the spread. And from a total scenario, we have 99% of the tickets on the under. They've not given us any information on the cash. Sky Dragon says, I bet Cleveland -3. And the under 39 says, don't love it. Hate the spot. There were tiny bets. Slatsy says Browns are 3-13 straight up after a win since 2021. Brady says Browns coming off winning as a 10-point dog. Troy can be the Browns god. Love them. It is the Colts or nothing as of right now. It is nothing for me. Dan Kelly says watching Browns San Francisco game was a perfect example of taking advantage of live betting. When Debo went down, I got on Cleveland. Then when McCaffrey went down, I doubled down 2 units. Easy win. DC Capra on Cleveland -1.5. And the idea that I don't want to buy high will probably keep me off of this game. And I do think the Colts, even though they just went into a home, I do think there is a big advantage at Lucas Oil. Browns coming off a big win at home, 19-17 over the previously unbeaten 49ers. PJ Walker started due to Deshaun Watson's shoulder injury. He was 18-34 for 192 yards and 2 picks. Amari Cooper caught 4 for 108. Jerome Ford ran 17 times for 84 yards, caught 2 passes for 7 yards, and Kareem Hunt ran 12 times for 47 yards and a touchdown. He caught 3 passes for 24 yards. That is an actual point of emphasis here, because he looked terrible when he came back to the Browns, not playing the first few games of the year. Jerome Ford looked good. Kareem Hunt looked much better. Their defense shut down the vaunted 49er offense. They held the Niners to 3 of 12 on third down, just 215 total yards. 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. They held Purdy to 125 yards through the air. Emerson had a pick. Deshaun Watson remains week to week. I mean, it's unclear when he'll be back. Anthony Walker, linebacker, is in concussion protocol, and the Browns defense right now, just the clear number 1 DVOA in the league. Colts come in off an ugly 37-20 loss at Jacksonville. They turned the ball over 4 times in the loss. They outgained the Jags 354 to 233. It didn't matter. Minshew was 33 for 55 for 329 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 costly interceptions. Also a fumble. Pittman Jr. caught 9 for 109. Tight end Kylan Granson caught 3 for 67 yards. He entered concussion protocol this morning. So he was not on any notes from the game. This happened this morning that he went into concussion protocol. So if you enter on Tuesday, you're not playing on Sunday. But the Colts have a lot of depth at tight end. They have Drew Ogletree and Mo Alley Cox. Mo Alley Cox was dealing with an injury. He did get into, I think, about 10% of the snaps yesterday, and we know what he's capable of. Wide receiver Alec Pierce hurt his shoulder in the fourth quarter. He had a big wrap on his shoulder on the sideline once he checked out of the game. We haven't gotten an update on him. But if he's not there, it's Pittman, Downs, McKenzie, and Rogers. The run game did very little. Jonathan Taylor's second game back, he ran 8 times for 19 yards. He did catch 5 for 46, but the Colts need to get him going. They need to have a 2-headed monster on their hands, because Zach Moss looks great. Zach Moss ran 7 times for 21 yards and a touchdown. He caught 6 passes for 38 yards. They're number 14 in offensive DVOA and number 17 in defensive DVOA. That's what you get from this team. This is a real mediocre squad. I was very surprised that Shaquille Leonard and Kwity Paye returned to the defense and they get slaughtered. Who do we blame for that? It's pretty simple. We blame Minshew. I mean, he's the reason why they got lit up. But I was still surprised that Shaq and Kwity didn't really boost that defense. Maybe it's because the Jaguars' offense is so much better than the Titans' offense, and that's a valid, argument because we didn't see Shaq or Kwity against the Titans. They finished with 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Juju Brents had a pick. They allowed the Jags to go 2 of 3 in the red zone. This Colts red zone defense has not been good this year. They're currently ranked 21st. They allowed touchdowns 57.89% of the time. They're a very, very mediocre squad going up against the number 1 DVOA defense in the league. But I'm still concerned about buying high with the Browns. Take it away for us here, Mikey. Lucas Oil, Browns, Colts.
Would you steal my DVOA stat? I was going to just drop that thing to open this puppy up, but that's okay. I ran this thing and expected to be in the situation where we're not going to see Watson. It's kind of trending for maybe that week 8 return, not week 7. And, the rumor on the street, and it looks like it's going to be official here is, we're not going to see Anthony Richardson come back this year, which is a shame because I had him as the opportunity for offensive rookie of the year. And I guess I'm going to probably, I won't tear that ticket up. I'll hang on to it just in case. But, that being said, obviously Gardner Minshew last week, he had 3 picks. He had a strip sack on top of that as well. Not a lot to like there, but you mentioned this running game and Jonathan Taylor is getting more involved in this situation. He was on the field for, or part of the offense for 40% of the drives last game. And Zach Moss has been nothing short of spectacular in the absence of Jonathan Taylor. So that 1-2 punch with Gardner's capabilities or his previous experience to me kind of makes my eyes pop a little bit here. Another thought that I said, or when I was looking at this game, first and foremost, we talked about the after San Francisco numbers a couple minutes back. Their teams after San Francisco are 3-9 straight up. They're 5-15 against the spread. The under is a big factor in there as well. 8-13 to the under. Also, Stefanski, when the total's less than 44 as a coach, he's 13-6 to the under. But the number that jumped out to me was the game after a quarterback throws 2 or more interceptions. When the team's averaging less than 2 interceptions over their season, and it's kind of that bad spot or that scrub spot where in this case, the Minshew factor came in and he kind of puked it up at the end of the game. What do they do that next game? They're 54-40 straight up. They're 59-31 against the spread. The under is also a factor. Makes sense. You want to protect that ball. You don't want to do anything stupid or take unnecessary chances where you're trying to reinstill confidence in your quarterback. But what kind of fell off the page to me here is the teaser factor. So for this Colts process, in that turnover margin that I just broke down, when they've had 2 or more turnovers that previous game and not averaging more than 2 on the season, that teaser factor goes to 75-17 when you add 6 points to it. So that's going to be one of the legs for me of a teaser. I haven't gotten the other side yet here as we continue to break down the card. I will find it and lock it down. But for me, the 75-17 number for the Colts, getting them to 8 points, makes a lot of sense. From a overall game plan perspective, we might even be able to get that number a little bit higher, but around that 8 and catching them over a touchdown, you said it earlier with the Bears, when they get into the red zone, what do? Well, first of all, they don't get in the red zone, or the Bears, I'm sorry, the Browns. The Browns don't get into the red zone very often. 7% of their offensive plays in the season have been in the red zone. 7.0, not 70, not 17, 7. That's tied for worst in the NFL. The Colts, for that matter, they're one of the best teams in the NFL to keeping their opponents out of the red zone. They tied for 6th in the NFL from a best in keeping teams out of the red zone. Browns are going to have a tough time scoring. It looks like an under spot for me in that game. But again, the first leg of a teaser, we'll see what we can lock in for that second leg.
First leg of a teaser for Mikey. Get this set up for you. So we'll see what he adds to it. And at this point, I just obviously, we have a bias from what we saw last week, and what we saw last week would make you want to immediately bet the Browns. It also make you want to immediately bet the Jags, and I'm not going to do that. I've been in this for too long to make those decisions. But
and real quick, I'll touch on it. You talked about it too, and what scares me about this total is the turnover capabilities. The Browns have turned the ball over 14 times going back to week 17 of last season. That's tied for 7th most in the NFL. The Colts force a lot of turnovers. They're 12 turnovers since week 17, ties them for 10th most in the NFL. And we've seen that Browns, after what they did last week and how they kind of ate up that San Francisco offense, capable of turning the ball over. So if we get a bunch of short field spots, that's going to burn that over pretty quickly. Or that under pretty quickly. So I originally thought about that teaser between, the Colts and the under, but we'll hold out and see what it looks like down the road.
All right, well, let's roll on then for us.